up as much space as you need. Make any little adjustments that you need to. Roll out the shoulders and let them drop away from the ears. Move the jaw around, relax all the muscles in the face. Give the hips a little wiggle. Shake out the wrists, the hands, wiggle the toes. Kind of wiggling and shaking off your day. And then, again, taking up space here. Allowing yourself this space this evening for your practice. Starting to let go of your day, whatever kind of day you had. And we talked about that letting go, that you don't need to think about dropping everything all at once. Let go of little pieces at a time. So you can think each time you breathe out, maybe letting go of just how you got to class. And then with your next breath out, letting go of wherever you were before you came here, before you drove here, anything that you did right before you left the house or before you left work. Letting go of anything that happened in the afternoon and around lunchtime. And so just letting go of little pieces of your day. Little pieces at a time with each breath out. And also letting go of anything that's holding you back from really being present here on your mat. Anything that you're making to-do lists about, or you're planning, or anything that you feel responsible for, or anything that you're carrying around with you that no longer serves you in this moment. Letting go of little pieces of that. And now for a moment, coming back to your space on your mat and just noticing what the body feels like this evening. Reminding yourself that it changes from day to day. Where do you feel like you're holding tension today? What do you feel in your muscles, in your joints? And any other sensations. Even noticing the good sensations and where you feel good in your body today. And now I invite you to take another moment to become aware of your breath. And notice where you feel your breath in your body. Where you feel the inhales, and where you feel the exhales. And now as you inhale, inviting the breath around the bottom of the ribs. And wide into the rib cage, around the sides of the waist. And as you exhale, just slowly releasing, and once again letting go. As you inhale again, taking the breath maybe a little bit deeper down to the belly button and softening the space around the belly button and around the mid-abdomen. Exhaling and just releasing that space, nice and slow. Inhaling, this time maybe to the top of the hips and the top of the pelvis. And around into the lower back. And as you exhale, releasing. Inhaling, stretching all the way through those abdominal muscles, all the way to the pubic bone, into the lower abdomen, and into the space around the base of the spine, the back of the pelvis. And as you exhale, once again, just slowly releasing that breath, kind of decompressing, letting go of any negative energy and anything that's no longer serving you. And now I invite you to inhale and breathe into the pelvic floor, between the sit bones, between the pubic bone and the tailbone. And then slowly exhale. Take a moment just to breathe here at your own pace and feeling the sense of stretch and length on the inhales as you stretch from the inside, lengthen from the inside, and releasing those exhales. Our emphasis is on the inhale and the space we can create. And then we're going to add in our breath retention. So if it's comfortable, taking that nice deep breath in, and then holding at the top of that inhale for a moment, and really feeling the expansion of the abdominal muscles down into the lower abdomen, the pelvic floor, even into the lower back, maybe even into the top of those hips. And then slowly exhaling all the way out. And doing that again, we'll take a nice big breath in, lengthening all the way down to the pelvic floor, into the hips, anywhere that you feel tight or restricted, holding that, feeling that sensation. And then exhaling, slowly releasing. We'll add in our count now if it's comfortable for you, or you can find your own count. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, holding at the top. 2, 3, 4, and exhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Retain the breath. 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, big breath. 2, 3, 4. Keep breathing in and hold. 2, 3, 4, and slowly exhale. 2, 3, 4. Release this practice for a moment. Come back to your space on your mat. Feel your physical body. Gently begin to move the feet and the hands. Gently start to blink the eyes open when you're ready. Start to gently awaken the body. You can bend the knees, wiggle the hips. If you want windshield wipering the knees side to side, or you can hug the knees into the chest, one or both. Take a moment just to move. Feel your body again, observing where you feel tight, achy, or restricted. And then take your time to roll over to one side. Pause there for a breath or 2. Take a moment and then slowly start to come up. We're going to come into a seated position. I want you to sit up on a foam block. And sit towards the front of the foam block with the feet out in front of you. And grab your bolster. We're going to bring our bolster in front of us. So we're going to start with the legs slightly bent. You can lift the toes a little bit, let the legs kind of relax here. With the sit bones just slightly behind you, so we're on the front of that foam block, so we almost feel like we're going to tilt off of it. So tilt the pelvis forward. Bring your bolster in between the feet. And then you're slowly going to shift forward. So with that tilt of the pelvis, we're going to let the spine start to cascade forward. And bring your forehead to the bolster. And then from here, you can start to sneak those feet out until you find a stretch, until you find sensation. Remembering not to go right to your edge because we're going to hold this for a while. So we just want to go to where we feel sensation. And then as you breathe here and gravity starts to take over, you might end up going a little bit deeper anyways. But we always want to just stay just shy of where our edge is. And we want to rest the weight of the head down so that the spine can really release. And you might feel sensation in the muscles in the back. You might also feel sensation in the muscles in the backs of the legs, those hamstring muscles. And then finding your breath here again. So maybe using that count of 4 or finding a count that works for you. So again, as you start to stay here a little bit, you might start to notice gravity taking over. You might have to shift yourself forward. You might have to turn the bolster onto a different edge. Maybe place it over your lap. And then rest the forehead down. So again, if you need to adjust, and then find a moment of stillness, and just focus on that breath. Inhaling, lengthening with the breath all the way down into that pelvic floor, into the hips, the back of the legs. Holding for a moment, feeling that sensation, and then slowly exhaling. And as you exhale, you might feel yourself release just a touch deeper into this posture. Let your breath start to ease its way into any of those tight, restricted spaces in the body. And really letting go of what this should look like and just feeling it in your body. Reminding yourself that those little cues in your head that are telling you to ease out of this or to get out of this is just your brain telling you that, starting to feel something here. It's our security, it's our nervous system protecting us. But remind your brain that you're not in danger here. You're just in a yoga class, sitting on your mat, getting a little bit of a stretch. And the way you can tell your brain and your mind that is through your breath. Letting the breath be slow. Letting those exhales be nice and long. That exhale activates that parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest. It triggers to our brain that we're not in any danger. Our body can rest. We're safe. We can release. And all of that tension that we're holding can slowly start to release its way out of the body. So you can imagine your wave-like breath as you inhale, feeling the rise of that tide, and as you slowly exhale, letting that wave-like breath wash away any tension out of the body, out of the mind. Letting go again, just 5%. Something that you're holding on to, whether it's physical or emotional or a mental stress that you have, something that you feel like you're carrying around with you. It often presents itself in our physical bodies. Maybe you feel like your shoulders are weighted down or your hips are holding in some unwanted sensation. Breathe it in. Breathe into that space. Feel the sensation there. Open up that space with your breath. And then as you exhale, send that energy out of the body. We have 3 more breaths here. For a moment, just feel the quiet ease of your breath. And as you start to make your way out of this, just release your breath. Come back to an easy breath. You can start to lift the head when you're ready. Start to lift the spine. You can place your bolster off to the side. And if you need to, take a moment to kind of wiggle the legs, pedal out the feet, bend the knees. The next pose we're going to come into is a deep hip opener. I'm going to give you a few different options and a few different ways to set it up. It's pigeon pose. So if you're familiar with pigeon pose and it's part of your practice, you can get right into it. But here's our few options. So on hands and knees, we want to take the right knee towards the right wrist and take that right foot a little bit over to the left. So we're externally rotating that right hip. Now we have the option to use a block under the right hip, or if that's still not quite getting it, you can also place your bolster under your hip. Or we can use a block under the hip and your bolster in front of you, so that your block is kind of holding you. And you can use your bolster to stay up nice and high if those hips are really tight. Or you can come down to the forearms, or you can stack it up and rest the forehead down. And if your knee or your ankle is just like, nope, there's no way I'm doing this, you're gonna come onto your back and cross your right ankle over your left thigh. And then externally rotate that right hip. And then you have the option to stay here or hold behind the left thigh or the left shin. So again, always the most work is just setting up these poses. So take a moment to find your space and wherever you kind of need to be. And if you need a second bolster or some extra blocks.
So we have to lean it to the right a little bit?
No, we want to try to keep the hips square.
So then why do I need this?
Because some people might not be able to sit back.
Oh, I see. So I'm doing this wrong, then I need to move back a bit or?
No. Then you just don't need it.
Okay, I'm just really far.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
okay. All right, thanks.
Yes. I just don't know. Try to take your foot up a little bit. Maybe easier way on top of the shin.
Okay.
Yeah. This.
Maybe.
Yeah. So we want the hips to turn open. Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay like this.
So ever so slightly, you want to think.
Yeah.
So you want to do it on your back. Okay.
Am I doing this right?
Take your right knee over to the right a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're forward on your stomach, kind of, you want to think about ever so slightly taking that right hip back and the left hip forward. Just a slight shift in the pelvis. You're not really going to move, it's just a very slight shift.
That's really worse than this, right?
Yeah, you're going to feel it in the glute, that upper hip. Yeah. Yeah, so if you're on your back, you can actually turn and use the wall if you want.
Should I be pushing?
So if you can, you can either hold the legs or you can use the wall. And you can just let
one. My physio gave me.
It's a good one.
There we go, yeah.
So then once you kind of found which variation works for you, what props you need to use, where you need to hold, then you're going to forget about what it looks like and just sink into it, let gravity take over.
Should it be hurting?
Yeah. It's a deep hip opener. You're going to feel it in either position, you're going to feel it. And then we want to find that breath. So again, your brain is going to start sending you signals. This is really uncomfortable. You need to get out of this. This isn't safe. But your brain doesn't know that you are physically in a yoga class on your mat. You're totally okay. Nothing's going to happen to you. You need to focus on your breath. So find those nice deep inhales. Send that breath all the way into that sensation that you're feeling in the hips, the glutes, the lower back, wherever you feel it. Hold it for a moment and really experience that sensation of opening and lengthening with the breath, and then slowly, slowly exhale. And as you exhale, decompressing the body, letting gravity again take over and just kind of sinking into yourself, sinking into the floor. And then taking that nice deep breath in again. Sending that breath into that sensation that you're feeling, that you're experiencing, holding it for a moment, feeling that length. And then slowly exhaling. And we're going to take 2 more breaths here. Stay with it. Focus on that breath. Use that breath. Remind yourself to keep the jaw soft, muscles in the face soft. Use the breath. Remind your brain that this is temporary. We're going to come out of this in about 5 to 10 seconds. So if you're lying on your back, you can slowly release the legs and unwind them. And if you're on the floor, you can start to walk the hands in, start to lift the head. And if you want, you can roll out of it, or you can sneak back onto the knees. And then any little bit of moving that you want to do before we do that second side. If you're on the knees and you want to take a quick downward dog and just walk out the legs. If you want to hug the knees into the chest, if you're on the back. If you wanted to stretch the legs out, just bring some blood circulation back into, especially that right leg, with that angle of the knee and that deep stretch. We've cut off some of the blood circulation to the leg, so we want to flush some fresh blood and oxygen back into that leg. So take a moment to wiggle. And remind yourself that when we come out of these poses, we've been holding it for a while, it's not going to feel really great coming out of it. But when you release it, hopefully it feels a little bit looser. And then when you're ready, setting up for that second side. Whatever variation you did on the first side, take a moment. There's no rush to get into it. Use your props. Set yourself up. Take a moment to ease your way into that space. Remind yourself too that the 2 sides are going to feel different. So you might have to adjust differently from one side to the other. And ever so slightly, not really moving the body, but just a very slight adjustment to the hips and the pelvis. Thinking about taking that left hip back and that right hip forward. Like you're deepening that left hip crease and drawing the front of the right hip square to the front of the mat. Take your knee, we've got it across to the wrong side.
This is not supposed to be there?
No, it's supposed to be up to your left wrist. And then your foot crosses over. Yeah, so we have that external rotation in the hip. Yeah. So then take left hip back, right hip forward, and then go up down. There we go. Okay. Thanks. So again, once you found your space, then finding your breath. Full deep inhales. Lengthening, stretching, moving that breath into that space that you feel the most sensation. Holding it for a moment. And exhaling slowly. Imagine those hips releasing a little bit more each time you exhale. Following each cycle of breath, taking it into the body. Wherever you feel really strong sensation, again, this is a deep hip opener. Using that breath, imagining that breath like a wave crashing into some rough, edged rocks on the shore. The inhale is the tide rising up against the rocks, holding for a moment as that wave crests onto the rocks. And then as you exhale, that wave is going to release back out into the ocean. And that rough edge is going to be a little bit smoother each time you breathe. So your breath, like a wave, is smoothing out any of that tension, any of that rough surface. That sensation. You're slowly going to release that energy out of the body with each breath. Reminding the jaw to be soft and relaxed. Finding space here with the breath. And that rough edge, that sensation, those rough, jagged rocks, not just in the physical body, but anything else that's holding you back or that you're holding on to. Exhale and wash it slowly away, letting it release. And we have 3 more breaths. Stay with it. Try not to cut those last few breaths short. Lengthen them even more if you can. Create more space with them if you can. And then when you're ready, slowly coming out, taking your time to walk those hands in, to lift the head, to roll out of it if you need to, onto the back, or sneak back onto the knees. Unwind the legs, pedal out the feet, walk it out, move those hips, move the legs, bring some blood and oxygen back into that left leg especially. However you need to do that. Shake it all out. When you're ready, we're going to come back onto our foam block into a seated position. And I'm going to give you a few different options here. So as I do them, you can kind of walk through them, and then whichever one feels better, you can stick with that one. We're just going to start with Sukhasana. Easy cross-leg position, right leg in front of the left, because we're going to do both sides. So start with the right leg in front, even if it's not normally how you sit. We want to balance out the two sides. So just notice if there's any tension here, or if this is uncomfortable, or if this is really easy. This is our first option. Option 2 is to start taking those feet out a little bit and kind of opening up that cross-legged position, almost like you want to create a square with the legs. And you can start to walk the feet closer towards the knees. So now notice how this feels. If there's any tension here. That feels pretty good. So then your third option is going to be to stack that right leg on top of the left. And if there's a lot of space, we can use a block to support. Or if your knees or your hip is just like, nope, go back to whichever other variation felt good. We're doing the same stretch. It's just different variations of it. Everybody's anatomy is different, your bone structure is different, so what is available for your hips and your joints is going to be different.
That's good. That's where I need my stretch.
Good. So then again, wherever you're sitting, sit bones are just slightly behind us. Gently tilting the pelvis forward, and then we want to offload the weight of the head, so we're going to grab our bolster and place our forehead on our bolster. And again, as you hold this position, if things start to loosen up, you can start to walk it out and go a little bit deeper. Just listening to your body. First couple breaths are always just kind of to set up the pose, to find space in your body where you feel some sensation. You're not so comfortable that you could fall asleep. But you're comfortable enough here to breathe and slowly release a little bit more with each breath. And then once you've found your space, find your breath. Find that count for that inhale. Take it into that sensation that you're feeling. Hold it for a moment. And exhale, slowly release it. And as you focus on your breath, thinking about that space that you're creating, you hear a lot in yoga, breathe into your hips, breathe into your thigh, breathe into your chest, breathe into your lower back. And while we can't physically actually take air and oxygen into those different parts of our body, we can just breathe into our lungs. If you think about what happens when we breathe, and we inhale and our lungs fill, our diaphragm muscle that's underneath our ribs contracts and it moves down. So it's going to push all of our organs down and out. So to make room for that, we need to send the breath wide and also down. We need to send our energy out and down so that there's room for all of those organs to stretch and expand, and we're not holding that energy in, creating tension. We want to send it out. So we physically can breathe down further into the body than just our lungs, because the lungs need room and space. So everything else has to make more room. We're going to take 2 more breaths in this position. And then for just about 3 breaths, we have that right leg on top or in front. We're going to just walk our bolster and turn our head and our torso over the left knee. So we're in just a tiny little bit of a twist, so you can feel it into that right side just a little bit more. And we're just going to hold here for about 3 breaths. just to get into that hip just a little bit more. Maybe one more breath here. And then we want to come out nice and slow again. You can lift your head, you can lift the spine, move your bolster out of the way. Really slowly unwind those legs again. It's going to feel really achy and weird and tingly coming out of it because we've been holding this weird position for a while. Unwind everything, move a little, wiggle it all out, shake off that energy, bring some blood flow back into the legs. And then we're going to switch sides. So left leg in front, sitting cross-legged. And remember, the two sides might feel different. So if this side is tighter, this might be where you go. Or you might have space to take the feet out a little bit and sneak the feet closer into alignment with the knees. Almost like, again, you're creating a square shape. Or maybe taking the left leg on top of the right leg. And maybe this side you have more space, so you're able to do that. Or maybe this side is still, again, like, nope, not doing that. If there's a big gap here, again, you can place a block in to support, and then offload the weight of the head with your bolster. Adjusting and setting up for the second side. Remember, the two sides aren't going to feel exactly the same. Is it in me? So, to remember what side we were doing.
Yes, that was
The left side.
this foot was supposed to be up here.
So instead, let's take the right leg out and just bring the left foot in. And then, yeah. So you're still getting that stretch in the hip, but you don't have to. Because you're still getting the same stretch, it's just a different option.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, as your body starts to release a little bit, you can start to walk that bolster out, maybe fold a little bit deeper. Find your breath. Take those inhales down and out into that sensation. Breathe into it. Allow for that space in the body. Allow your breath to take up space. Allow your body to expand and stretch from the inside. Slowly release it all as you exhale. Too often we hold ourselves inward. We hold our emotions in. We physically hold ourselves in because of whatever we've been told in our lives. We feel like we need to fit into little boxes. So we physically hold ourselves inward, and that tension is held in the body because we hold everything in. So let your breath take up space. Let yourself stretch from the inside. Take up space here. Give yourself permission to take up space. Don't hold it back. Emphasize those inhales and hold it for a moment and really experience that space that you have created for yourself. And then let it go. And we'll take just 2 more breaths in this position before we walk it over. When you're ready, you can take that bolster and just turn a little bit over that right knee. so that you feel a little bit more of a stretch in that left hip and along that left side. Now as you fold over that right knee, the left sit bone wants to lift a little bit, and if it does, that's okay, but try to root it down. Try to send that energy down and then lengthen out of that space as you fold in the opposite direction. And as you inhale, you can breathe some more space into that left side. From the left sit bone and the left hip, all the way up to the crown of the head, through the spine. And then we'll slowly release out of it, lifting the head, the spine, and unwinding those legs really slow. Wiggling them out. Alright, so our next pose, we're going to be on the knees, so if you want foam block or doubling up the mat for some knee support. I'm going to take our bolster in front of us again, and maybe we might need some extra blocks. We're going to start with the left foot forward and take it fairly wide out to the side of the mat. You can even turn the toes out a little bit onto a 45. And then we're going to start to lean forward. And as you lean forward, if that knee comes right over the toes, we're going to scooch that foot forward a little bit. It's okay for the knee to be over the ankle. And then we can bring the hands to the bolster or the full forearms down. So we want to release the hips down and then release the head down. And if you can, try to be above the knee joint rather than right on top of it. So if we're right on top of it and we're leaning down, our weight is right on top of that knee joint. So if you can, above the knee joint. So if I lift my knee is not actually in contact with the mat. The flesh above the knee is. And then you want to breathe. Another big hip opener. Is it just being on the knee that hurts? So in yin yoga, this is called dragon lunge. And it does get very fiery, and very hot. And again, your brain starts to send you those signals, get out of this. Or we're just going to take 3 more breaths here. And so when you're ready to come out of this, nice and slow, we're going to transition back onto the hands. And then you're going to start to straighten that front leg and shift the hips back, just as a little counter pose. We're not going to stay here, but just to unwind from that stretch. You can point and flex the toes a little bit. And then we'll take that left knee back and step the right foot forward. And set up for that second side. And turn those right toes out. Send that little dragon wing out. Sink the hips. Walk the hands forward. You can stay up on the hands or you can come down to the forearms. Again, reminding yourself that the two sides are a little bit different. And if you look and that knee is right over the toes and that heel starts to lift, and we want to scooch that foot forward a little bit more. So it's okay for the knee to be over the ankle, but we don't want it over the toes. Rocking those hips. Focusing on your breath. Especially if you're really tight and stiff. Focus on that breath. Okay, we're not going to be here very long. It's a deep stretch. 3 more breaths now. And try to get one more breath, one more full cycle of breath in there. Maybe using that breath retention. And then when you need to come out, we want to walk the hands back under the shoulders. Take those hips back. Slowly straighten that front leg. Point and flex those front toes. And I'm going to just switch the order just to save us some time. We're going to come into Sphinx pose, so we're going to come onto our stomachs and hold opposite elbows. The chest is slightly lifted. We want those hips on the mat. And the feet are flat, so our heels aren't out or turned in. They're straight, so the legs are slightly engaged, but we're not really working to hold them. We want to gently draw in pubic bone to belly button, and then take those sit bones back towards the heels. So we're lengthening out of the lower back, and we want to lift the heart. And then, depending on how the lower back feels, we're going to start to walk those elbows in, and you can release the fingertips towards the front of the mat. We want to crawl out of the lower back and make the upper back do more of the work. So even if you're still down here, still focusing on opening the heart and lifting pubic bone to belly button. Sit bones to the heels. Make the upper back do more work so that the lower back can release. And then we're going to breathe all the way down around the belly button. Soften the space around the belly button. And as you breathe out, not really engaging, but just gently drawing the belly button in, rib cage in. And as you breathe in, expanding and softening that space. Maybe opening the heart a little bit more. And as you exhale, the belly button and the ribs are just going to come in softly. And we'll just take 2 more breaths here. And 1 more full cycle of breath. then you can release all the way down. You can rest the forehead on the hands for a moment. Give the hips a little bit of a wiggle. Pedal out the feet. Let everything release. And then when you're ready, you're going to press right back to child's pose. And if you'd like, you can take your bolster with you and your blocks and snuggle them right into you. And we'll take our rest in child's pose. And if child's pose doesn't feel good to you, you can stay in that prone position. You're more than welcome to stay there. Again, just setting yourself up, finding your space, and then finding your breath. You're letting your eyes close. And as you inhale, taking the breath down into the base of the spine, where it connects to the back of the pelvis, the back of the pelvic floor. Letting that space open and expand. That space around the base of the spine, the sacrum, and where it connects to the pelvis, has a lot of wear and tear. It holds a lot because it's where our spine connects into the pelvis, which is where we bear our weight. And if we're not holding ourselves in really good, strong alignment, oftentimes that joint holds a lot of weight rather than distributing all the way across the pelvis. So we want to breathe into that space, let it decompress, open, let it take up room. And as you exhale, letting everything soften, breathe out any tension there. I'm feeling safe and supported in our child's pose, so now you can exhale and let go even more. Letting yourself hold your own body weight. Torso is being held by your legs and by the floor. Inhale, lengthen, stretch, create space. Exhale, let go. Resting your head on one side, and you haven't changed sides yet, take a moment to do that, just so that we're balancing out both sides of the neck. Just for the last few breaths. Two more breaths here. Letting yourself find a moment of stillness and quiet. We don't often let ourselves just be still, not thinking about anything that we have to do or anywhere we need to be, just breathing. Without being in a rush, the back of the hips. So we want space between the lower back and the mat. And you're going to let the bolster hold your hips up off the floor. And if you're really tight and you already feel a stretch in the hips, the lower back, the quads, you're welcome to just stay here. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper, we're going to start to extend that right leg, keeping the heel resting on the mat. So you're going to start to straighten that right leg out. And then you might feel a sensation here, and you might want to stay here. But if you'd like to go deeper still, you can start to pick that left foot up off the floor and bring the knee in towards the chest and maybe holding behind the left thigh or the left shin. And if you get there and you think, nope, that's too much, you're always welcome to put that left foot back down. And then for a few breaths, focusing on the sensation in the front of that right thigh and that right hip, and anywhere else you feel it. Inhaling, holding for a moment, feeling that stretch, and slowly exhaling. Potentially using that count of 4 if that's comfortable, or finding your own count. Letting the muscles in the face be soft, jaw soft. Maybe letting those eyes close for a moment, or just softening your gaze towards the ceiling. Reminding yourself once again, it doesn't matter what this pose looks like. You want to find your own sensation and your own space here. Focus on your breath. And then if you're holding that left leg in, you can slowly start to release that left foot back to the mat, keeping the knee bent. Pausing here. And then when you're ready, bringing that right foot back in and pausing with the knees bent for a moment. And then you can take your time to extend that left leg. Again, you're welcome to stay with the knees bent. You're welcome to stay with just that left leg straight. But if you want to go deeper, you can start to bring that right knee in. Remember, the two sides might be different. So adjust. Don't force them to look the same. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Focus on what it feels like. Find your space and breathe into it. Find that 4 count, or that count that you've been using. Even if you just retain the breath for just half a second or 1 second, giving yourself that pause in that moment to experience that stretch from the inside, that pause where nothing is happening, you're just lengthening and expanding those muscles and connective tissues that cross over each other from the inside. There's so many things that connect in the pelvis, that cross over muscles, joints, nerves, connective tissues, where our legs connect to our spine. so many muscles. There's a lot going on there. Breathe into all of that. Breathe space in between all of those things that connect and cross over in the pelvis. Open up that energy and that space. You're still holding that left leg, or sorry, that right leg, you can let it release slowly, foot back to the mat. If you want for a moment, you can extend both legs or bring both knees back to that bench position. And then to come out, you want to come out nice and slow again. So if the legs are straight, bend the knees. And you want to just lift your hips high enough to slide that bolster out and lower those hips back to the floor. And for a moment, just let everything settle into the mat. Sometimes we want to bring the knees into the chest right away, but what happens is that psoas muscle is like an elastic. We've stretched it out, and if we pull it back in, it's just going to go right back to that shortened position, which is where it's comfortable, but it's also causing tension in other parts of your body. So let it release, let it stay long, let it stay open. Even if it feels weird and tingly, let it settle. And then from here, if you need, you can windshield wiper the knees side to side. Or any other last little bit of moving. And then you can start to find your way into your final resting position. Wherever you are comfortable again. Legs up the wall. Bolster supporting under the body wherever you need it.